Hi everyone, this video will be looking at question 1 of the fiction reading paper. So paper 1. So we're looking at the information retrieval or the search and find question. Okay, remember you will get an unseen text in the exam, but in this case we're going to look at an extract from the Lovely Bones. So like I say, this video will be looking at question 1. And question 1 will be worth 4 or 5 out of your exam. So it's a question that we want to get right and we want to do well, but it's a question that we should be doing fairly quickly. So I would say you should be looking to spend 4 or 5 minutes on this question. We don't want to spend lots of time in the exam just trying to get 1 mark and 1 extra mark. We've got other questions that are weighted more that we want to worry about. So really 5 minutes. If you haven't got the answer, give yourself time. You can go back and finish it if you need to. Okay, so like I said, this question is basically searching and finding information. So it's testing your ability to identify information and ideas in a text, explicit and implicit. So you'll be asked to look for explicit points. So this is basically obvious bits. So it was cold. So these are just facts or things that we can easily find that are just really easy and really simple. And we're also going to be looking for implicit points. So these are more subtle. These may be hidden meanings in the text. So instead of just saying it was cold, which is an explicit point, telling me someone is freezing or feeling cold, he had to wear his coat as he slept. This suggests that it's cold because someone has to wear an extra layer when they're in bed because they're so cold under their duvet. Typical question for the information retrieval will start with these 3 bullet points. So you might get list, reasons or details, make a list, or explain what you learn. Okay, so remember, if it says list, we're looking at bullet points, but we'll talk about in a minute how much you need to write. So here's an example of a question. So question 1, read lines 12 to 19 of the source. List 4 things from this part of the text about the baby, for example. Okay, so you must take your information from this section, so lines 12 to 19. Anything else will be a waste of time. You will not get a mark for it. You've also got to make sure you read this part. So you're only talking about the baby and nothing else. So if, for example, it was talking about a baby and a house, anything you talked about the house would not get you any marks. Okay, and here we're looking to write short quotations. I would say you shouldn't be using single words, so you need to write a proper sentence. Okay, so like I say, in the search and find, use whole sentences but keep them brief. Do not copy out whole chunks and sentences. If you write out massive chunks of dialogue, you will not get a mark. And if you're making 5 points, if it asks you to make 5 points, try maybe to write 6 or 7. If it's asking you for 4 points, try to do 5. Just in case we don't get one quite right, we've almost got that one in the background as a bit of a backup. I'm going to give you a few little teacher tips for this question. So teacher tip 1. Read each question twice before you read the specific lines from the extract that it's questioning you on. So question 1 is quite a simple question. It is just finding information. So just read the question twice. It will only take you 5 seconds just to make sure in your head that you've got the right information, you're searching for the right thing. Tip 2. Mark or circle on the exam paper for selection you are answering on, e.g. line 1 to 12. So you should have a highlighter with you in the exam. So what I would do is, when it tells you question 1, lines 1 to 12, I would just do a massive ring around lines 1 to 12, just to see, just to tell you and make it really obvious to you which part of the text you're looking at. Okay, so for example here, I've done a highlight, it's 1 to 12, so I've highlighted with 1 to 12 it makes it much easier for me to see. I don't have to worry about anything underneath the bottom line. Tip 3. Read with the question in mind. Use a highlighter as you read to pick out key evidence that will help you answer the question. So what I mean by this is, if you can see the yellow highlighter here. So the question was, tell me things about this character. So I've just highlighted 5 or 6 things that I think are important and going to help me in this question. What I've not done, and which is tip number 4, is I haven't just highlighted everything. Be specific. Only highlight relevant words or phrases. Too much will make it difficult to work out which evidence to use. So for example, if you highlighted like this with the yellow, it's really difficult to work out what is going to help you with your answer. So just highlight the key parts. So read each question twice, mark or circle the lines you need, read with the question in mind and highlight key facts, and don't highlight everything. Okay. Many of my students fail to gain full marks because they simply didn't read the question properly. Okay, so students need to answer in simple sentence type answers Example, list 4 things from this part of the text about the man's physical appearance. Okay, he had wild eyes. You would get a mark for that. However, some students just put that, wild eyes. You must do a sentence that would make sense on its own. He had wild eyes, makes sense. Just putting wild eyes does not answer the question properly, and you will not get a mark for it. So each answer must make sense of its own, i.e. a simple sentence answering the question is what you need to do. Try to start with a pronoun, so he, the man. Don't, again, just put wild eyes, he, the man. Okay, so in this video, like I said, we're looking at the lovely bones. Question is, read lines 1 to 6, list 5 facts about the main character in the selected extract. Okay, so there's the extract, which is quite big. However, it's only asking me for lines 1 to 6, so if I was in the exam, I'd get my highlighter, just like I'd done before. I would mark or circle on the exam paper the selection you're answering on. So it's basically the first paragraph. There we go. So I would highlight that if I was in the exam. So again, the question is, list 5 facts about the main character in the extract. And here it is. My name was Salmon, like the fish. First name Susie. I was 14 when I was murdered on December 6, 1973. In newspaper photos of missing girls from the 70s, most looked like me, white girls with mousy brown hair. This was before kids of all races and genders started appearing on milk cartons or in the Daily Mail. It was still back when people believed things like that didn't happen. So, the question is, list 5 facts about the main character in the selected extract. So, on your own now, pause the video and see if you can come up with 5 things about the character that we are told. Okay, remember the questions though. Read the question twice, mark or circle the exam paper, highlight any key evidence, be specific, and answer in short and simple sentences. Okay, so if I had my highlighter, the things I would have highlighted were, we find out her name, Susie Salmon. We find out that she was 14 when she died. We also find out she was murdered. We also find out the date she was murdered. We find out that she was a white girl, and we find out that she had mousy brown hair. Everything after that we don't really need to know or mention because it's not about her. She talks about in general. The stuff before that where I've highlighted this is just about her. Okay, so there's the extract. So you could have retrieved the following information. The narrator's name was Susie Salmon. She was murdered. She was 14 when she was murdered. Date of death, December the 6th, 1973. She is white. She has mousy brown hair. So any of them you could have had for your 5 marks. And what I've done is, remember, I want to do one more just in case I get one wrong. So I've done 6, but I only needed to do 5. So there you go. Okay. So if you want to improve on this question, do lots of revision, but also try testing yourself against the clock. So it's easy to do in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but maybe revise, just giving yourself 5 minutes each time. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes to get those pieces of information. Okay, that's it on this video. Good luck with the question in the exam.